This is Learn It from an 80s Song. I am your coach, Patricia Freiberg. Today, we have a very special guest. Please welcome Jaime Krupnick. Jaime has built her success on integrity, innovative ideas, hard work, and great communication with her clients. Before embarking on her real estate career, Jaime owned and operated an event production and design agency for over 20 years, creating world-class, extraordinary experiences. Her passion for luxury design and producing international landmark events comes from the honor and responsibility of knowing that we are each creating memories and experiences that will last a lifetime. Working with top-tier clients, Jaime epitomizes concierge-level service in each and every detail, and this contagious energy launched her on her real estate journey. This extensive experience is the business-savvy approach that she brings to her real estate clients, both buyers and sellers. Born and raised in Westlake Village, California, Jaime has extensive knowledge in the Conejo Valley and the local housing market. Being a mother of a school-aged son in the community, Jaime is very involved in community activities, charitable ventures, and locally supports small businesses and schools. In her free time, in addition to spending time with her family, hiking the local trails, enjoying the nearby beaches, and supporting local eateries, Jaime joyfully spends her time pursuing her lifelong, high-level, competitive equestrian dreams. Horse properties and ranches are her real estate specialty, and she adores finding the perfect home for her clients and their four-legged friends. Jaime is dedicated to building and maintaining long-term relationships with her clients and prides herself on attention to detail, versatile negotiation skills, and luxury service. Jaime, it is so great to see you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
Yes, so fun. And, Jaime and I just happened to see each other on the weekend, with our boys playing baseball. So I'm fortunate enough to have her on the podcast today, but I'm so fortunate that I get to also see her in the community of Westlake Village.
Yes. They're playing on the same team this year too, so it's awesome.
Which is great. It's so nice. Because you would hear us as fans on each of the teams, when they didn't play on the same team, I would say, go Cole, or when something great happened, I would celebrate it, even though it meant that our team didn't get that point, so it's nice to have them on the same team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is the part of the show where we have the big reveal as to what song we're going to be talking about today. So, Jaime, what song from the 80s best resonates with the story you're going to tell us today? Can I get a drum roll, please? What is your song, Jaime?
My song is Working for the Weekend by Loverboy from 1981.
Yes, 1981 Canadian band Loverboy. And I did a little research on the history of this song. And thank God for Wikipedia. I tell you, I'm a big fan of Wikipedia. The song was written by Paul Dean, the guitarist, Mike Reno, the vocalist, and Matt Frennett, the drummer. Now, how this song came about was Paul Dean was trying to get some inspiration to write his next song. And when he was walking around, he looked around and the place was deserted. And so he thought to himself, where is everyone? And of course, he was thinking everyone was working. And then he said specifically, well, I guess they're waiting for the weekend. And so that's when Mike Reno said, let's title that song Working for the Weekend. So that's where it came about. And from all those hard workers out there, working for the weekend.
Working for the weekend, working on the weekend, working all of the above.
Exactly. So, Jaime, tell us your story.
My story. So I have owned and operated an event production company for the last just over 20 years, actually. I started out my business, I worked at a studio in special events, and then I jumped ship and I went on my own. And I went to the other side of events, which is production and design, and produced high-end luxury red carpet events for a very long time, very successfully. Unfortunately, as we all know, in 2020, we hit a little bit of a shift in our lives with the pandemic. And one of the first things to go was events. So for me, it was an immediate, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my life? I need a different career path. So I'm a really hard worker. I've always been a really hard worker. I built the event business from scratch with a business partner at the time, and then went off on my own solo for many, many years. And I just sort of pulled myself up by my bootstraps and figured out what to do next. And events are very relationship based, and I've met a lot of amazing people through events. And obviously I know a lot of amazing people and wonderful people, family and friends in our community of Westlake Village. And I thought, well, this seems like a really great time to jump and to do something I've always really dreamed of doing, which is going into real estate. So I started in April with the classes. I completed the classes pretty quickly in June and July, and had to wait a little bit to take my test. Again, thank you, COVID. Took my test, got my license, and landed at an incredible agency here in Westlake Village, Engel and Volkers, with some longtime friends who own the brokerage. And I've hit the ground running, and I'm not looking back. So I've entered at the time where it's a really hot real estate market. As anybody who's looking to buy or sell knows, it's a crazy time right now. So I'm really enjoying it. And again, relationships.
So good, Jaime. And I'm just, I reached out to Jaime to bring her on this podcast because I've on social media have been watching her. And then plus I know her family and have known her for quite some time, good 15 years. And I've always been so impressed by your work ethic. And when I saw the pivot happen for you during, on social media and during this pandemic, because I knew you were in events and I knew you were a top event, planner. I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, but Jaime, I'm just going to brag about you for a moment. But you did American Idol. I remember that, and I got the luxury of working with Jaime's parents, and so they did not hold back on their admiration for their daughter and all of your success. And so to plan these giant events like American Idol party. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hits and it's like, wait, what am I going to do? So you've gone from these flying all over the world to plan these landmark events. I remember your parents talking about that as well, how you would like, oh, she's off in such and such today, planning an event. So, I mean, I think what's really interested me during this time and what I've put a lot of thought into is just that mindset, the mindset of how, this pandemic hits, and watching people like yourself, Jaime, pull up your bootstraps, like you had mentioned, and said, all right, this is happening. So how am I going to work now? And knowing and how beautiful it is that you mentioned relationship being something that you know so well. Real estate is 100% built on relationship, and so amazing. I'd love to hear more about your mindset during that time, and what was it like to be in your mind during this time? It's like, all right, well, this is happening.
I would say it was a range of emotions, and it was a range of thoughts. Obviously, the first is sadness and mourning of a business that I had built and grown for so many years. And yeah, we did events like American Idol. They were our first top client when they first launched American Idol. We did all the parties for them. I did a ton of events for different studios. I also planned the big event up in Santa Barbara for the Duke and Duchess when they came and did the polo tournament. And that was, to me, that was like the pinnacle of my career, really, was to be able to work with everybody from across the pond and put on that incredible event with sponsorship and horses, all of the things that I love. But obviously to meet, the Prince and Duchess and to work with them and their team. So that was a really incredible time in my life. So of course, mourning and sadness and whatnot for losing that business. And, maybe it'll come back one day and maybe I can do both of them. But right now I'm putting all of my energy and all of my time into this new business. So going back to your original question, I would say that my thought process was very much like, I need to be creative here. I need to be creative. I need to take some leadership and I need to figure out what I want to do. And, it was a lot of conversations. It was a lot of reading and kind of figuring out how to sort of reinvent myself. And you sort of alluded to it in what you said. And like, I was calling it the career pivot, but it really was for me a career pivot. And, in my early 40s, I never thought I would be reinventing myself. But once I started going with it and once I started learning about it and starting putting together my list of, areas and my knowledge of the neighborhoods and the community. And I'm like, wait, I'm going to be really good at this job. Like I can do this and it's something that I'm passionate about. And I have a lot of great people that I've met, growing up that have moved back here through my son, families and friends, and through my horseback riding. I know a lot of people. And so I started talking to them and, getting an idea of what their needs are with real estate and, sort of their paths. And, it was all about conversations and talking to people and as much as we could, seeing people and discussing things and, just redirecting my energy. And obviously it took a ton of support from my family with, all the hours upon hours of studying and taking tests, which, gosh, I haven't done that since college. And so
right.
that was a whole nother thing that, you have to start over again with. So
yes,
I did it. And it was a huge it was a huge accomplishment for me. When I passed the test and I got the job at Engel and Volkers and I had all these amazing people behind me and, it felt like a restart for me, which was really great.
Well, I have to say they are so lucky to have you and, anybody to work with you because you do give 110%. You just have that, you're, workhorse, right? That you've got that, but you also work smart and you also know that relationship is key and you lean into your strengths. And I can definitely spot strengths today. So that's what we're going to do next is, for those of you guys who haven't taken your VIA strengths assessment, I highly recommend it. It's completely free and it really describes who you are to your core. So it really is about VIA is by way of. It's how we see the world, how we show up in the world by way of these strengths that we hold. And I had so much fun, Jaime, because I've gotten to know you vicariously through your parents. I never met you, but I felt like I knew you early on because just based on the amazing things your parents had to say. And then also I've gotten to know you throughout the years at different parties for kids and things like that. And I've always admired you for a lot of the strengths that you bring to the table. And I'm going to list some of them. And I'd love to hear whether, what you think. And when you take the VIA strengths assessment, let me know if I got any of them right. Okay. So this is called strength spotting. So for number 1, I put appreciation of beauty and excellence. Now, let me tell you what the definition of that is, because when you hear the definition, it's not shallow, guys, that for those that are listening, you think, oh yeah, you appreciate nice things. No, yes, you do appreciate nice things. However, this is the definition. Noticing and appreciating beauty, excellence, and or skill and performance in different domains of life, from nature to math to science to everyday experiences. There's also moral goodness within appreciation of beauty and excellence. It's also linked to pro-social and behaviors and altruism. So here's why I picked this for Jaime. When you're putting on an event, guys, and you're working with clientele like what she's mentioned, all of those places, the Duchess and the Duke. Detail, and appreciating details for that, right? Appreciating the excellence. You know that when you see a table setting or when you see a beautiful arrangement, you know what work went into making that, and you appreciate that. And so people with this strength, when they see a performance, like let's say you're at a horseback riding event and you see somebody do something amazing and you're watching them, you know the work that it took to get to that place. Absolutely. And that's what appreciation of beauty and excellence is.
Yeah, I think you're right on. I think that it's one of those things that I am very detail oriented, which has really helped me with real estate, because even as far as the transactions and just getting the houses listed and getting the photos taken and all the little details, a lot of similarity to the things that I did before, right? So, you know, I'm very specific about how I like things to look for the pictures because I want the house to show beautifully. I'm very specific with my contracts. I want to read everything. I want to help my clients through everything because I want to be able to explain what a contract says and what it means and how that's going to affect them. And, you know, all those types of things, which are all things that I had done in my previous career. So it's a lot of, you know, attention to detail and absolutely appreciating the beauty in all of it. And really, honestly, when you said that, another thing that I thought about was appreciating the beauty in our community and just being outside and taking a breath and appreciating where we live and that we have the ability to do these things and to ride horses and to walk around the lake and to go hiking and, you know, to be in this community. So absolutely 100%.
Yes. And that's called specifically awe. So in your strength, it also talks about the appreciation for awe in things, AWE, how you can see beauty in hiking and all of the things that you just mentioned. So I cut that out like just to make it short, but that is exactly one of the pieces.
It. You got it.
you knew exactly what it was. And so secondly, I'm going to go into another strength I see, which is bravery. So this is not shrinking by threat or challenge, difficulty or pain. You speak up for what is right and you act on conviction, even if it's unpopular. This science shows, and I'm getting this from Dr. Nemec's book on Via Strengths Interventions, research shows that you build resistance as these challenges are overcome. And then it presents itself with more active coping skills. So then you get more coping skills, more resilience based on these challenges that you overcome. Now, what I chose bravery is because, well, first off, she jumps horses. So, I mean, you got to be brave.
Right.
So I think that like definitely played into that, but I think you already have that in your personality and putting on these giant events like you have, or being brave, stepping into a whole new career path that you didn't before. But that is taking an exam during a pandemic, guys. I did it. It is hard studying at my mid-40s plus age. It's harder to learn things. And so you bring, Jaime, that level of bravery even pivoting and trying on something new during some really tough times.
I agree. And I think that I learned that. I mean, truthfully, I'm an only child, and I have always been brought up, my parents, I've always been brought up to be a very strong person and to take chances and to take risks and to follow my heart. And yes, you know what? Sometimes it doesn't work out, but if you have the conviction and you have the determination, and I believe that I do, it worked out. And I'm so grateful that it did, but I don't take any of it for granted, because
Yes.
I really feel like, I can tell you, and you already mentioned it, the hours and the studying and just everything that went into it. I didn't just willy-nilly wake up and say, I'm going to be a real estate agent. It doesn't work that way. And work for a top firm and be selling houses for, in the first couple of months that I've been there, and to have these big transactions and these big deals and handling these clients. But again, people trust me because they know I've done the research. I know what I'm doing. I'm not, it's not arbitrary. So, and I am brave. You and I spoke about this over the weekend, but I also want to be brave for my son. I mean, I have an 11-year-old son, and I wanted to show him, you know what, Cole, like, I'm not just going to sit here and feel sorry for myself. Like, I wanted to teach him, like, this is what you have to do. Life doesn't always deal you the perfect, hand. And when that happens, like, you got to get up and dust yourself off and figure it out. And ironically, my parents and my friends are very proud of me, but my son, beyond, like, it's the cutest thing to watch him, and he wants to talk about everything, and all my listing appointments and my showings and my listings, my sales, and he's so interested in it, and I love that about it. So
I love that. Yeah. I love that. So he gets to see that work ethic, that the Krepnick work ethic, because I know your parents, they've always worked hard in what they've done. So definitely carrying on that legacy through. A couple more strengths. I've got several of them, but I'm going to list two more.
I love it.
Social intelligence. So this comes down to relationships. So with what Jaime was speaking of, with her clients, her attention to detail, and making sure she knows specifically what those clients' needs are, that is a strength that to lean into. So it doesn't come naturally for everybody. This is unique to Jaime specifically. And it's being aware of motives and feelings of other people, and oneself, and knowing what to do to fit into different social situations. And by social situations, it's really about work, also in those work relationships as well. So you can read a room. Jaime can go in and read a room. She can walk in. She goes like, I know who I'm dealing with. I know what personality I'm dealing with right now. This is how I need to work with this client. And it's something that is cellular. She doesn't really have to think about it. It just comes naturally. And that's that social intelligence in play.
Since I was younger, I've always kind of played this game with my family and friends, that when we go into a restaurant, like, I always like to sit in the seat that you can see the people walking in the restaurant, right? And I always like to kind of figure out their stories. And by the end of dinner, like, I've now figured, sorry if you've sat next to me at dinner, because I've probably tried to figure out your whole life story just sitting across the table from you. But I do find that I do read a room pretty well. And I've had to do that with events and with real estate. People are making life decisions, whether I was planning a big wedding or planning a bar mitzvah, and now someone's selling their house or buying a house. I mean, these are life events, and you want to know from the client, what do you want from this? Like, what would make you feel good? Because then you want to deliver that. So you need to understand all of the backstory about that person. And, most recently I was dealing with a client who is a widower, and she, I was very sensitive to a lot of things, because this is the first time, I mean, she's older, and this is the first time she's ever purchased a house on her own. So there was a little bit of a hand-holding process, which I enjoyed, because for me, I was there to help her and answer her questions. And, she used to have a person to bounce all of that off of, and she doesn't anymore. So I wanted to become that person for her. So,
wow.
You're right. You have to know who you're working with. And I found in both careers that there's so many people that are just, there's a formula and they follow the formula and this is how it is. And if it's outside of the box, like that's not going to work for them. But for me, I live outside of the box, because that's where you actually form the relationships. That's where you get to know people. That's where you build trust. And that's where that's what will help you, to move forward.
Yes. Yes. I love it. So great. And how lucky for her to have you as a real estate agent to be there and really support her during that time. That's amazing. And I can see the social.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it too. Right. So I'm like, oh gosh, your escrow closed. I'm going to miss you,
Oh, right.
And it was like that with events. I'm like, oh, the event is over. And I'm like, we talk 50 times a day and now we just don't talk anymore. So you become friends with people. They become part of your life.
Next, I'll put leadership. So you're encouraging a group of people to get things done. At the same time, you are managing and you keep a good relationship with the group. So you're helping the group get things done, but yet at the same time, you're still maintaining a great relationship with them.
Yeah, this one's a big one for me, actually. And it's funny that you chose that one, because I always said in my events business, like I managed a team of people, and for some events there were large teams, for some events there were smaller teams, but I always managed a group of people. And I always said to them, like, I'm never going to ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do. So, and we're a team. Everything is we. And still to this day, I'm lucky enough to be on a team at Engel Volkers, and we're a team. And I feel like everybody does things together, because a team is so much stronger than, the one person. So again, going back to it, like the relationships and what works, like some people have strengths, some people have weaknesses. So you sort of figure out what those are and you fill in the gaps, right? You want to set everyone up for success, which has always been a big thing for me. And you want everyone to walk away feeling like they made a great contribution and they helped in the end result of whatever that is, an event, a sale of the house, whatever that is. You want everybody to feel like they had a significant role, which they do ultimately.
It's fun, guys. So if you haven't taken the VIA Strengths Assessment, I always have people take it because it is free. And it gives you just some great knowledge. When you do have obstacles coming up, that in your life, it's great to lean into those, because it gives you that positivity to help move you forward. So if you haven't taken it, take it. All right. So let's talk about an action item for our audience. I would love to hear, Jaime, with your vast experience and with the pivot that you did in 2020, what advice would you have for our listeners? If you had an action item for our listeners, what would that be?
An action item, I think truthfully, it's don't give up. Restart, physical self restart. I got healthy. I took control of my life. I lost some weight. I really felt like I needed to take the reins back on myself. And what I learned through that was a lot of accountability to myself, accountability to my health, and putting myself first, and to put myself even in the mix, because for so many years I was doing everything for everyone else and I was never taking care of myself. So I really kind of reignited that, and I figured out, like, okay, I took care of the health and wellness part of my life, and thank goodness I'm still, knock on wood, able to manage that, and I'm still doing my hiking, and I'm working out every day, and I'm meditating, and I'm taking time for myself, because all of those things really help to get me to where I am in this moment, right? So take us back to the beginning of 2020. And if I hadn't done all of that work for myself, I'm not sure what would have happened. But because I did, and because I knew how to get back to that and to get back to the roots of that, I I thought, well, okay, you did this one thing, you can do this, Jaime, and you just have to use those same skills and the same accountability, and don't give up, and let's do it. And I think that would be my action item. It continues to be my action item. I mean, not everything is perfect, obviously. I am starting a new career. There are things I don't know. There are things I'm learning. I'm very grateful to be at a place that has given me the opportunity to be on a team that helps me, to make magic, and I'm enjoying it every minute. And I hope to continue on that path, but I don't take any of it for granted. And there are going to be days that I am dealt a hand that is not so easy. And again, just go back to the don't give up, be strong and center yourself and go get it. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's beautiful. And that was one of your other song choices as well. So Jaime had 3 song choices, and it was Don't Stop Believin' was one of them. And that song has been used a couple times on the show, which is such an amazing song. But then she dug a little deeper into the 80s, and that's where she got everybody's, working for the weekend. And then the other one was She Works Hard for the Money. So tell us a little bit about how it was for you making the song choices, and how you ended up landing on that song, other than me twisting your arm.
I take everything, again, back to the detail-oriented. Here I am reading all the lyrics and making sure that they're the right, direction. But I would say the part that really, spoke to me in that song was the part about second chances. So, yes. This is my second chance to make a career, and this is my second chance, to do something that I love and to follow my heart and my passion. So for me, that was why I ultimately landed on that song. And the other one about Don't Stop Believin', I mean, that is sort of what I just spoke to, which is I had to believe in myself. I believe in myself. I continue to believe in myself. I'm confident in who I am. I'm confident in who I will become. And yeah, and here we are.
So great. And she works hard for the money. And she does.
I do.
Well, I think you bring up such a great point about self-care. When you are a peak performer, and that's Jaime is a peak performer. She works really hard, long hours, and it's who she is. But with that, she has to take that downtime. She has to have that self-care.
And obviously with the horseback riding is another outlet, which has been incredible. Through all of this, I have my horse, and, I go out to the barn for an hour, and the phone doesn't work, which is amazing, because it's just like I go early in the morning or in the afternoon, and I just have that time to just breathe. Everybody needs to breathe, because you can get so caught up in the craziness and the chaos, and really nobody is productive if they're spinning in circles. So
no.
Yeah.
So true. You can be so much more productive by taking that time. And you alluded to it earlier, which was even the mindfulness of awe, and taking the note when you're out there on your horse and you're seeing the beautiful environment. You are taking it in that time yourself. You don't have the distractions of the cell phone. And so then that really is about being mindful and practicing mindfulness.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So great. So great. So before we finish up here, we have to talk about 80s trends and your favorite 80s shows, etc. So if we were in your closet, in the 80s, what would you be wearing? What were some of your favorites?
Neon. I love neon. I still love neon.
Me too.
I still love neon. I would say neon. Yeah.
So great. And I love that all the 80s trends are coming back. Like I said, I had no idea making this podcast, that the 80s would be then trending, They
are. It's amazing. Like 80s fashion is coming back with the shoulder pad.
I know. And the puff sleeves. I'm like,
yeah, we're ready.
I'm so ready for it to come back. And then what were some of your favorite shows?
Oh my gosh. I have a lot. I had a lot of favorite shows. Growing Pains.
Yes.
Growing Pains with Kirk Cameron. I had the biggest crush on Kirk Cameron. He was.
What
was Ricky Schroeder's show? So
yes. Yeah, silver spoons.
And I would say like those were two of my favorite, probably because I've always been a little boy crazy. Probably had a crush on Kirk Cameron and Ricky Schroeder,
and Ricky Schroeder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's Family Ties. I loved Family Ties. Such a good show.
I loved all those family shows, which is why
I did too.
Yeah, like now, like This Is Us, like it sort of feels like the remake of like the family TV show, which I loved.
Yeah. Yeah, so good. So good. Well, Jaime, I just am so grateful to have you here today and giving us your words of wisdom, and huge kudos to you for your giant pivot in 2020 and then this beautiful package of strengths that you have and how you bring that into your real estate business. And it's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I feel like you and I are very similar, and I appreciate you for all the same things. So
yes, thank you.
Hardworking moms.
How do people get a hold of you? Because your Instagram and is beautiful. I love all the things you post on houses and all things homes. How do people get a hold on you?
Yeah, I have an Instagram account, which is jaimekrupnick.re, which maybe you'll provide that. So the spelling.
Yes.
I do spell my name a little differently. And I also have a Facebook page and a website. All can be found through my Instagram and my Facebook page.
Super, super. Well, thanks again, Jaime. And until next time.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from anyone. And I'm always looking for fun neighborhood trends and things to talk about and things to blog about. So
great. Such a great wealth of knowledge.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Till next time.